Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Panchatattva, Jayo Panchatattva. Jayo Radha Madhav, Jayo Radha Madhav. Radha Madhav, Jaya Radha Madhav. Jaya Nrisimhadev, Jaya Nrisimhadev. Nrisimhadev, Jaya Prahlada Maharaj. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotarashatashri Srimad Srinadi Goswami Abhai Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtotarashatashri Srimad Srinadi Goswami Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Maharaja Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Om Premstako Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Śrī Radha Madhava Gopi Gopinath Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavana Madhura Dama Ki Jai. Mayapura Navadvipa Dama Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hariribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. Jai Srila Gurudev. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam Devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Please together, you can chant. Om agyanam timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaham Shri Chaitanya manobishtam stapitam yena bhutale Sayam rupa kadamahyam dadati swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sakagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichanam Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Svitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Viśuddha-dhiṣaṇāḥ Krishna Prashtaya Bhatale Shrimati Jaya Pataka Swami Tinimne Namo Chare Padaya Nitaya Kripa Pradayana Gaura Katta Dama Dayana Garagrama Tavirine Namam Viśuddha-dhiṣaṇāḥ Krishna Prashtaya Bhatale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinimne Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Dishtarine Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sinkhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I'm seeking your blessing before we start to be able to say something inspirational and for our purification to please you and the Lord Himself. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, text 47 and 48. And 48 is on the board, so I will be reading 47. tad-dhyānodriktayā bhaktyā viśuddha-dhiṣaṇāḥ pare tasmin nārāyaṇa-pade ekānta-matayo gatim. The next verse we can chant together. Avāpur duravāpāṁ te asadbhir viṣayātmabhiḥ vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ virajenātmanaiva avāpur duravāpāṁ te asadbhir viṣayātmabhiḥ vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ virajenātmanaiva avāpur duravāpāṁ te asadbhir viṣayātmabhiḥ vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ virajenātmanaiva. Next. Duravāpāṁ te asadbhir viṣayātmabhiḥ vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ virajenātmanaiva, avāpur duravāpāṁ te, asadbhir viśayā-ātmabhiḥ, vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ, virajenātmanaiva, avāpur duravāpāṁ te, asadbhir viśayā-ātmabhiḥ, vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ, virajenātmanaiva, avāpur duravāpāṁ te, asadbhir viśayā-ātmabhiḥ, vidhūta-kalmaṣā sthānaṁ, virajenātmanaiva. tad-dhyāna, positive meditation. Utriktayā, being freed from. Bhaktyā, by devotional attitude. Viśuddha, purified. Dhiṣaṇaḥ, by intelligence. Pare, unto the transcendence. Tasmin, in that. Nārāyaṇa, the personality of Godhead Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Pade, unto the lotus feet. Ekānta-matayaḥ, of those who are fixed in the Supreme, who is one. Gatim, destination. Next. Avāpur, attained. Duravāpāṁ, very difficult to obtain. Te, by them. Asadbhir, by the materialists. Viśaya-ātmabhiḥ, absorbed in material needs. Vidhūta, washed off. Kalmaṣā, material contaminations. Sthānaṁ, abode. Virajena, without material passion. Atmanaiva, by the self-same body. He, certainly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus, by pure consciousness, due to constant devotional remembrance, they attain the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by the Supreme Nārāyaṇa, Lord Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the one Supreme Lord without deviation. This abode of the Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, known as Goloka Vrindavana, cannot be attained by persons who are absorbed in the material conception of life. But the Pandavas, being completely washed of all material contaminations, attain that abode in their very same bodies. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, a person freed from the three modes of material qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, are situated in transcendence, can reach the highest perfection of light without change of body. Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Hari Bhakti Vilasa says that a person, whenever he may be, can attain the perfection, whatever, he can attain the perfection of a twice-born Brahmana by undergoing the spiritual disciplinary actions under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, exactly as a chemist can turn gunmetal into gold by chemical manipulation. It's therefore the actual guidance that matters in the process of becoming a Brahmana, even without change of body, or in going back to Godhead without change of body. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks that the word he used in this connection positively affirms this truth, and there is no doubt about this factual position. Bhagavad Gita 14:26 also affirms this statement of Srila Jiva Goswami, when the Lord says that anyone who executes devotional service systematically without deviation can, first, attain the perfection of Brahman by surpassing the contamination of the three modes of material nature, and when the Brahman perfection is still more advanced, by the self-same execution of devotional service, there is no doubt at all that, second, one can attain the supreme spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, without change of body, as we have already discussed in connection with the Lord's returning to his abode without a change of body. So this verse describes the departure of the Pandavas and Draupadi. How? By the pure consciousness viśuddha-dhiṣaṇāḥ. Viśuddha means pure and dhiṣaṇa means consciousness or intelligence. Due to constant devotional remembrance, and here the specific word is used, not here in the first verse, dhyāna, bhaktyā, bhaktyā. That's constant devotional remembrance. They attain the highest perfection in the spiritual abode of the Lord. And the highest abode of the Lord is Goloka Vrindavana. So they attained this highest destination, which are so desirable to everyone, with their pure bodies, Atmanaiva. So just without changing bodies, they were able to do it. And also, that's the first part of the verse, it's not here, 47. And 48 describe those for whom it's very difficult to attain this abode, the materialistic persons. The viśaya-ātmabhiḥ. We have this word here, the second line, viśaya-ātmabhiḥ. They atma, they absorbed, they engrossed in viśaya, or the sense object, or the gratification of the senses. And therefore for them, this meditation is not possible. So these two polarities are here. Whoever can reach and those who cannot reach. So Pandavas reached the highest abode of the Lord by this meditation. And the key phrase in this word is dhyāna bhaktyā. Dhyāna, what is dhyāna? Dhyāna means meditation, and bhaktyā, devotional, with devotion. As Srila Prabhupada translates it, dhyāna means constant remembrance, not just remembrance, but constant remembrance. This concentrated mind, when mind is really absorbed in the object of meditation. This is dhyāna, and we will come to this point when we describe, following Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas, different levels of remembrance of the Lord. And this remembrance of the Lord purified their gross and subtle bodies, starting from subtle, and then it comes into the gross. When the subtle body is purified, then it's very easy for the body to follow this subtle, already changed reality of the mind and intelligence. The body also transformed because of the transformed mind and intelligence. So they purified both, they transformed both the mind, the intelligence, and the body, the gross. But therefore, without changing bodies, they were able to go back home, back to both, because the bodies, they were changed, transformed. or, as we can say, spiritualized, totally spiritual, it's totally different reality. And we also will come to this point. So what is dhyāna? Dhyāna, or meditation, or remembrance, and how does it affect us? Srila Prabhupada explains Nava Anga Bhakti, or 9 processes of devotional service, in the 7.5.23. Yeah, in the same verse where Prahlada Maharaj lists this Nava Anga Bhakti, or 9 methods of devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, just gives a hint of, very briefly describes each of these methods of devotional service. So for dhyāna, he says something very interesting. Let's be attentive. Hearing this message imprinted in the spiritual sound, a person should memorize it. First hearing, and this is sound. The information is there, imprinted in the spiritual sound. And then we should memorize it, not just read through, not just lightly read as usually we read material books or newsletters. No, it should be read with concentration to the point of memorization. We have to memorize it. So whatever is read should be memorized. And then third, repeat it. 3 things are connected here. And then he says, by means of smaranam, one should try to understand the Supreme Lord more and more deeply. Not by shravanam, not by kirtanam, but by smaranam. Because that's the result of shravanam and kirtanam, smaranam. And by smaranam we can realize, we can have this insight more and more into the personality of the Supreme Godhead. And in other words, Srila Prabhupada connected these 3 methods of devotional service. Shravanam, first we have to hear. By hearing we remember. And it should consciously done, memorization of what we hear. And we get deep samskara. When we hear and then try to memorize, it just deepening our samskara. First, what is a samskara? The imprint of this sound vibration, of this information which is there, imbued in sound. So it's imprinted in our consciousness. So that's some samskara of hearing. And then when we try to remember it, it deepening. This imprint deepens. And then we utter it out. It should be spoken out. It should be repeated. And then samskara becomes really deep. So, and then Srila Prabhupada continues. Because of this, our remembrance of the Lord can be really achieved. So these 3 things should be there, which deepen our samskara of hearing, and thus we can always remember the Lord. So what is this smarana? Why the smarana gives us this ability to understand the Lord? Srila Prabhupada says that smarana is a natural stage one comes to after hearing and doing kirtana, or repeating what we hear. And it should be done after, when the mind and intelligence, subtle body, is already purified by this remembrance, by this hearing, and then chanting, then we can remember. Otherwise, it cannot be done. So Srila Prabhupada states here that preliminary qualification for remembering of the Lord is to enough hear, to enough chant. And then we can remember, not before this. And then he continues, Shravanam, one who has purified his heart by regular hearing and chanting is recommended to apply the following method of devotional service, smaranam, remembrance. And he quotes this famous verse, 2:1:11. Etan nirvidyamananam ichhata makuto bayam yoginam nripan nritam harer namanu kirtanam. It's a very famous verse where Shukadeva Goswami stresses that to get success in whatever we do for all kinds of living beings, for nirvidyamananam, who already purified their mana, already purified their existence, for ichhatam, for those who are engrossed in matter, having different kinds of desires, all varieties of different desires. And for yoginam, who already self-satisfied, for them is highly recommended to harer namanu kirtanam, nama anu kirtanam, always chant the holy name of the Lord, to get success in what they do. It's very important. And then Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas mentioned, that's our beginning, nama anu kirtanam. Yeah, we start, the pivot of our sadhana, we start our sadhana with chanting of the holy name. And this is the first level of remembrance. And Srila Prabhupada lists the different levels of this remembrance, because we now discuss dhyāna, or this intense, concentrated devotional meditation by which Pandavas reach to the spiritual world. It's very important for us to understand how it acts for us. So first level is, so there are 5 levels of remembrance. First is smarana, where the mind tries to find the object on which it may concentrate. So we are trying to find the form, find something, the object on which we can concentrate, looking for this object. And for us, this is nama. The first level is nama smaranam. So we remember the nama, we remember the name of the Lord. This is starting point. So search for the Lord, start from this object. We try to concentrate on what represents the Lord fully, on his nama. And then dharana, that's the second level. What is dharana? When one's mind is completely away from all the objects of the senses, and it starts merges into this object of our meditation, his form. So finally, from nama we come to form of the Lord, rupa. Therefore, the second level of remembrance, that's rupa smaranam, remember the form of the Lord. And it's coming naturally. Here the mind concentrates on one object without deviation to anything else. And it ceases any other activities connecting to whatever may be, other than this object which it already concentrated upon. So thinking, feeling, and willing, at that point, the main functions of the mind, they just stop. It doesn't think of anything else. It doesn't feel in anything else toward anything, whatever it may be, and then there is no desire, willing. Desires are not there. So everything just stopped, all the activities of the mind, connected to other objects. But whatever connected to this object, it's there in the mind. The activities is going on. So mind thinking, remember about the Lord, thinking about contemplating the Lord, and then the mind feeling something, because this remembrance, we will come to this point, this remembrance of the Lord creates different feelings in the heart through attachment, okay, step by step. It was second level of remembrance, dharana. And then third one, which is mentioned here in this verse, dhyāna, constant meditation. That the third one, detailed, concentrating on the object of our meditation, concentrating in details on the features of this form of the Lord, on the fine details of this form. This is a dhyāna. And Srila Prabhupada explains how Pandavas meditating on the Lord. Actually, he was everything for them. He was a member of his family. He was everything, their life and soul. They were eating together. They were sleeping together. They were conversing every day, many hours. They were doing everything together. So they naturally remember the Lord during this last portion of their life. Thus, they were able, by this constant remembrance of the Lord, they were able to purify their consciousness thoroughly, the subtle body and the gross body, and thus thoroughly transformed to the spiritual reality. They were able to attain the spiritual world, because they became of the same nature as the spiritual reality. So they became totally spiritual, so the only destination for spiritualized people, they go into the spiritual world. Nothing material is left. That's because of this dhyāna. And Srila Prabhupada says it's possible for us. But how it's possible for us? We didn't see Krishna, we didn't eat together, we didn't sleep together, we didn't do anything together, we don't know him in reality. But there are some techniques how to do this meditation, and we can come to this point, or I can mention now. Whatever we do, that the first suggested method how to meditate on the Lord, whatever we do in our sadhana should be done in concentration. With concentrated mind, we have to concentrate on what we do. If we hear, it should be real hearing. The mind should not be somewhere. Otherwise, nothing is achieved with it, because the mind is the key for transformation. First, subtle transformation happening in the mind. If mind is present, then it's transformed. And then from this, the gross matter of our body is also transformed. But if mind is somewhere, deviated somewhere, or distracted somewhere, so we're not getting anything. So the key should be there, and key to the transformation is the mind. So whatever we do, it should be done with concentrated mind. Either hearing, or kirtanam, or vandanam, the mind should be there, absorbed in what we do. So the concentration of mind is very important. Then, because of this concentration, the second point, we are getting rid of our material svabhava. So we have our conditioned nature, but when we concentrate the mind and concentrate on the sound vibration, then the transformation happening very easily for us. I'm just jumping because the big lamp of what I want to say about dhyāna. Okay, the preliminary we can say about this. So this is dhyāna, detailed concentration on the qualities of this rupa, and therefore it's called guna smaranam, or concentration on the gunas, the qualities of this form of the Lord. And then comes the stage which is called dhruva anusmriti. What is dhruva? Dhruva means firm. Anu, it's already constant, or something which follows the authority. So this anusmriti follows the way the authority wanted to be done. This anusmriti, this remembrance of the Lord. Dhruva anusmriti, then it's constantly, at this point, we remember the Lord constantly. Constant remembrance, which grants one capacity to envision the past times. And therefore, it's called lila smaranam. This dhruva anusmriti, or constant remembrance, make us eligible to see the past times because of this very intense concentration on the reality of the spiritual world, namely pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, we can envision them. It's also natural process, as Srila Prabhupada says us. And then fifth level, that's samadhi, or level when devotee doesn't think of anything else but the object of his meditation. And thus he enters his rasa. Previous level was the level of lila smaranam, and thus we are entering these lilas. We understand on the level of samadhi, and there are 5 also different kinds of samadhi according to our rasa. We are in samadhi, we are fully understand our eternal relationship with the Lord, and it's called sampati dasha level, sampati, perfection. This is the perfection of life, to re-establish, to regain, to manifest this relationship with the Lord. So it comes on the level of the samadhi, and on this level some particular attachment to this particular form of the Lord comes into picture. We are attached, and Prahlada Maharaj gives this example of how the iron being dragged to the magnet. In the same way, we are so attached to the Lord that we cannot go anywhere else. Our mind, our intelligence, our subtle and gross body just dragged, as the iron is dragged to the magnet. The speciality of the spiritual mind, it cannot stay without the Lord. It just cannot exist without the Lord. And this is already level of samadhi. We are fully absorbed in this object of our meditation through the attachment. And actually all these different levels of remembrance of the Lord, they correspond to different levels of attachment to the Lord. So thus, remembrance of the Lord, it's very important for us to understand. The remembrance of the Lord ignites the attachment to the Lord. It's like a candle. The Shivaram Maharaj gives wonderful example. The candle of our remembrance ignites the wick of our attachment to the Lord. There's this wick, givik. We have ghee lamp of our attachment, but somehow there is no flame there. So there is no attachment. But to ignite this givik, to manifest this attachment, the candle of remembrance must be there. So when we remember, naturally we are attached. The more we remember, more we attach to the Lord. So these different levels which we already described, they manifest different attachment to the Lord. So deepest attachment to the Lord up to the level of bhava and then prema, it's rati. Attachment to the Lord, deep in already developed relationship, that's samadhi. In the samadhi, when we just forget everything, the mind is nowhere. It doesn't exist practically, but being absorbed in the object, only object of our meditation as the Lord. So that is smaranam. Let's take a closer look at smaranam, because that's what we try to understand now. What is this smaranam? Krishna himself said, because that's the way to get attached to the Lord, as Srila Prabhupada says taught. And this example is given by Shivaram Maharaj. I like it so much. And Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, manmana. That's the main instruction of Bhagavad Gita, manmana, remember me. Why? Because it gives attachment to the Lord. Why? Because this attachment brings us to the point of bhava and then prema, the loving relationship with the Lord. As it said in Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, Dhyato vishayan pumsah, sangasteshu pajayate, sangat sanjayate kama. And like this, in the same way. But it was said about the object of matter. But the same is applied to the spiritual object. Dhyato, if we do this dhyāna, if we do this meditation, viśaya, this viśaya, not material, but spiritual, the form of the Lord, the qualities of this form, the lila of the form, the devotees of the Lord, then sangha comes. Sangha teshu pajayate. The same. Everything is the same. It applied to the matter. When we concentrate or meditate on matter, we get attached. And then kama comes, sangasteshu pajayate kama. And because of this attachment, a real love comes. The same we can say about spiritual matter. If you meditate on spirit, then we develop love first by remembering the dhyato, the sangha comes, the attachment comes, and this sangha is developed to love, to kama, or spiritual kama, spiritual love, not ordinary kama, and not material one. So think of me, the main instruction of Bhagavad Gita by the Lord itself, himself. The essence of all the Vedas is Gayatri mantra, right? And this is first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Gayatri, that's famous. And what is the last line? Satyam param dhimahi. Dhimahi is the key verse in this essence of all the Vedas, Gayatri mantra. Or it's called Veda Mata, or mother of all the Vedas. From this Gayatri, or meditation, deep meditation on the Lord, sprout everything. All the Vedic knowledge sprouts from the Gayatri mantra. And the essence of the Gayatri is this Dimagi. Let's meditate, let's meditate. That is how Veda inspire us to meditate on the Lord. Vedaisha sarvair ahameva vedya. Of all the Vedas, I am that is knowable. So all the knowledge of the Lord comes from meditation on what we read. All right? So this is a dhimahi. Let's meditate on the Lord. And then the first verse gives full description of what we can meditate on in the personality of the Godhead. And to start from Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my obeisances to the Lord Vasudeva. The time now, 8:42. Janmatyasya tonvaya titaratesh chartesha bigyak swarat. Tenebra mahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yad surayah. Tejavarim ridam yatra vinimayo yatra trisarga vrisha. Damna svena sadani rasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. So it's so beautiful. First, the Lord is described as Janma Dhyasya, Janma Adi, the source of all, the source of whatever created, the source of whatever we have in this creation, matter or spirit, it doesn't matter. And I offer my respectful obeisances. I meditate upon the Lord because He is the absolute truth. Param Satyam. He is the absolute truth. And the cause of all what the manifestation, the material manifestation, and then the sustenance of everything, and then the structure. He is the source of everything. And then He is the one who imparted the Vedic knowledge into the Brahma's heart. Tene Brahma, this Brahma, the Vedic knowledge, Brahma Hridaya, was imparted by the Lord in the heart of Brahma, the Adi Kavi, or original poet. And from this poetic presentation of the knowledge through the existence of Brahma, all this material universe appeared, manifested. It's also very interesting. There is no cause beyond Him. He is the only one. By Him, even the great stages, Muhyanti Yad Surayaha, all the suras or great stages and great demigods, they are bewildered totally, because even despite of the Lord is whatever is knowable in the Vedas, this knowledge is revealed in the heart according to our bhakti. Bhakti mama bijanati yavanya chasmi tatvataha. Even this knowledge is not possible to reach in some other way but through revelation. The sacred knowledge, the intimate knowledge of our relationship with the Lord, they will come in the heart naturally when everything is revealed by the Lord. Bhakti mama bijanati, by our bhakti, by the level of our devotion to the Lord. Therefore, they muhyanti, they're totally bewildered by the Lord. They cannot understand Him, even the great sages. So, and with all His paraphernalia, divine paraphernalia, He always exists in the spiritual world, in Goloka Vrindavana, where there is no representation of material illusion. So it's free from illusion. That's how we can meditate. And then last final offer, let's meditate. Let's meditate on this Lord of our heart. And also Acharya say it's very easy to meditate. Like it's very easy to see the Lord everywhere, because the Lord gives us this wonderful picture how He manifests in all this material creature. What he says, I am the taste of the water. When we drink the water, we always can remember the Lord. The taste of the water, it's very sweet. Original taste of the water is very sweet. That's the taste of Krishna. Or the forbearance of the earth, or the tolerance of the earth. It's another qualities of Krishna in the earth. We can always remember when we see this different object, when we can remember the Lord. And also, I am the heat in the fire, and the light of the fire is also me. Right? When we see fire, when we see different manifestations of the fire, heat and light, we can always remember the Lord. That's a way how we suggested to try to always remember the Lord, trying to see Him in everything, whatever we have around us. And this is the way Mahabhagavata sees this world. Stavara jangama deki na deki taramurti. Sarvatma chaya nija ishtadeva spurti. Stavara, immovable or mobile. Jangama, whatever he sees, either trees or air or different objects or mountains, he sees them as a manifestation of the Lord. Sarvatra Stavra Jangama Deki, not Deki Tara Murti. Murti is the form of this object. He doesn't see the forms. What he see? Sarvatma Ishtadeva Spurti. That's the manifestation Spurti of his Ishtadeva. So in other words, Mahabhagavata, the special souls which reach to the highest perfection of understanding the Lord, realizing the Lord everywhere, they can see Lord everywhere. They don't see the object, they don't see the creation, they see the Creator in the creation. It's very crucial for us to understand. And Srila Prabhupada told the same to us, when you're in the holy time especially, you can meditate on different wonderful signs of reality here, like when you're going to Ganges flowing from the lotus feet of the Lord. Immediately this wonderful Udipana comes. Okay, Ganga, that's the lotus feet of the Lord. We can always remember. Or when we look at the sky, especially during the sunset, the sky is so beautiful, multicolored. The golden is there, the pinkish is there, the bluish is there. And this is combination of different colors of Krishna's clothes. We can imagine Krishna dressed in these wonderful clothes of the colors of the sky. That's how we should actually meditate being in the holy time. Like all the manifestation, whatever we see around us should be immediately correspond, immediately attached to different paraphernalias of the Lord, to different manifestations of the Lord, to different features of the Lord in our consciousness. So these two things Acharyas ask us to do to be able always remember about the Lord. First was mentioned concentrated mind when we do our sadhana. Whatever we do, it should be done with concentrated mind. And the second, we can specifically put our endeavors in this trying to see the Lord everywhere. Like the different manifestation of this world should be seen as a manifestation of our dear Lord. Thus our love for the Lord will be visible in this remembrance of the Lord. And Narada Muni says about this transformation in the 7th canto, due to this meditation, something happening with our body. And he gives this wonderful example. Probably this is an example from horror movie. This scene of horror is there. He gives the example of caterpillar and a wasp. Yeah, there are different types of wasp, and one type of wasp lay its eggs in the caterpillar. It paralyzed, wasp paralyzes the caterpillar and drag it in its nest, and then lay the eggs there and leave this poor caterpillar there. And caterpillar, although it's paralyzed, but still it's in agony. It just with this very intense feeling of anger, of hate, of fear. And it's so intense that the meditation of wasp with this feeling gives a tremendous result on the consciousness of this caterpillar. How? It's being reborn as the wasp. This caterpillar, because of the intensity of this meditation on this form of wasp, which hurt it so much, because of this intense feeling and intense meditation, it becomes a wasp. Narada Muni gives this example of meditation of the yogi, how we have to meditate on our Lord. The meditation should be very intense, and the more feelings are there, and feelings are naturally coming. If we are attached to the Lord, then naturally feeling comes into picture, right? We will feel something, because mind has this function of, thinking, feeling. It's always emotional. Mind should be emotional. By nature, it's emotional. The more emotions are there in our attachment, the better we can meditate on the Lord. The better remembrance of the Lord is. So that's how we can should meditate with this intense feelings towards the Lord, with the intense feeling of whatever we have. It can be not necessarily love at the beginning, of course. It can be anything. It can be appreciation. It can be joy out of, when we see the Lord or remember it. It can be deep respect and gratitude for whatever I have. But the emotions should be there. So the meditation should be done with emotions. Like the meditation of this poor caterpillar, which was hurt by the wasp. So, but the real effect is gained because of this. And then Srila Prabhupada says, the worm or caterpillar which think of it with fear and hatred, and therefore in the next life itself is born as a wasp. Similarly, if the conditioned soul always thinks of Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha, we become Sachitananda. If we think of Sat and Chit and Ananda, we becomes. Whatever we concentrate on, whatever we meditate on, we becomes it. It's very important for us to understand. Whether one worship him as a god or see him as an enemy, in any case, due to constant concentration on Krishna, such a soul regains a spiritual body. And Srila Prabhupada continues, it's a completely natural process. When we just think about something, a new reality created in the mind. When we think, the feeling comes, the willing comes. New reality is created. Mind think about something, some object before us, and we think about this object. So naturally, new reality created in the mind, endowed with feelings, endowed with willings, desires to get it, right? In the same way, because it's already in the mind, new reality, it comes into our gross body. It becomes new reality for our body, for our activities, for whatever we do, starting from the mind. The meditation is so important for us. And therefore, new reality is created by meditation of our mind. From the mind to the body. And then to our life. So from the meditation of the mind, new reality comes into our life. It's very important, therefore, what we meditate upon. It's also very important to understand how it works. What's 8:55? Jiva Goswami explains in his Bhakti Sandarbha that Tatastha Shakti being marginal. It's like a cup. Cup is our Svarupa or Svabhava. You can put there everything. Cup is some bowl, then you can put everything. Whatever cup's going through, it will fill the cup. All right? If it's a matter, the cup will fill with the matter. If the spirit, then cup will be filled with spirit, with Satchitananda. And also, it's very important to understand how it works, like how we get this bondage to the material world. It's also said in the Shastras, it's explained that our mind works like a hedgehog. It has its needles. And these needles, what are these needles? Desires. So desire sticking from our mind. And this desire remains like hooks. So the mind is fishing, catching something on these hooks, the hooks of our material desires. What is being fished? What we are fishing on these hooks of material desires. So they're just sticking out like these needles from the hedgehog. So what we are catching? Our guna. Because to fulfill this desire, to be able to fulfill the desire, we have to be covered with some particular combination of the gunas. That's what we are fishing on our hooks of the material desires. The combination which exactly corresponds to this desire comes and we catch it on this desire. Thus we catch our gunas. They're just covering us. For what? Why these hooks? They have special design. So design of this guna, combination of this guna, they also design in the same way. For us to be covered with this guna, to be able to fulfill the desire. These gunas come to cover us, to be able to fulfill this desire. So thus we are getting covered with our material nature on the hooks of our desire. But if there are no desires, no hooks, nothing to fish, and nothing to be covered with, because there is no cause of it. Why to fish? To fulfill desire. But there is no desire, then no need in the gunas. So gunas dissipated by this deep meditation of Satchit and Ananda. If we meditate on Satchit Ananda, naturally of the Lord, naturally attachment developed. And naturally, because of this attachment, we want some material things in our life. So goals changed, our body changed, goals of our life is changed. Therefore, the hooks, already spiritual ones, also they are there, sticking from the spiritual mind, the hooks of the spiritual desires, and they're also catching something. What are they catching? The prototypes of these material modes of nature, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. They're catching these original spiritual modes. That's how we become covered with these modes of Satchitananda. That's how we get transformed. And then Srila Prabhupada says very wonderful thing. The mind can either be enlivened by remembering Krishna, remembering the holy name, remembering spiritual things, the devotees, their deeds, their sacrifices, going over the stories about Krishna in the mind, or vice versa, the mind can be deadened if one remembers the qualities, forms, and names of this world, dead matter, and the futile, miserable attempts of people in this world to squeeze some drops of pleasure out of matter. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Manara Smarana Prana. Smarana, or remembrance of the Lord, it's a prana of our mind, mana. If remembrance is there, then the mind is alive. If the remembrance is not there, if the remembrance of matter is there, then the mind is dead. And when something is dead already, it starts rotting. And what is the effect of this rotting? Something stench, this horrible smell appeared. What is the smell of our, not our, rotting mind? If there is no prana there, if there is no remembrance of Krishna, no this smarana there, lust, anger, greed, illusion, all the manifestation of this rotting of our mind absorbed in dead matter. Mind is dead, so the manifestation of the stench, that's these wonderful things which we mentioned. So they come in from attachment to the dead matter. But if the hooks are not there, the attachment not there. We are not bound to it. And I wanted to say so many things, but actually, just 1 second I want to mention about how Pandavas went to the spiritual world. It was adventure for them. They didn't go there directly, and we can speak about this as well. First, they went to hell. Then they went to heaven. And only then they went to the spiritual world. Although here in Srimad Bhagavatam it's not mentioned, but in Mahabharata it's there. And I just want to read it. It's very nice to read how Maharaja Yudhishthira went to Svarga. And this is Svarga Arohana Parva, or right to heaven, retold by Krishna Dharma Prabhu in his Mahabharata. So let us read like for 5 minutes. I know they don't like it, but it's for the end. It would be nice to understand more about the nature of this remembrance of the Pandavas, how they were able to get through all these different impediments in their life, just because of this constant devotional remembrance, this dhyāna, the Supreme Lord. Yudhishthira ascended Indra's chariot. So Indra came for him to take him to heaven. As it rose sweetly into the sky, he was surrounded by celestial beings who praised both himself and Indra. It's unheard of that Indra takes someone on his airplane to escort him to the heaven. Rather, just the opposite picture we know. The Indra doesn't like actually someone to come there. But who is coming there? Whoever reaches the heaven because of these great sacrifices, karma kanda sacrifices, they come in this particular capacity of servants there. They're servants of the demigods. That's how they reach in the heaven. No other capacity. They're servants there. But Maharaja Yudhishthira, he's a supreme powerful being there. That's how he returns, or how he ascends into the heaven as a supreme authority there on the level of Indra. He also, Yudhishthira, saw the godly sage Narada floating in the space by his own divine power. The Rishi said, the royal sage Yudhishthira has transcended the achievements of all other kings in heaven. Covering the worlds with his fame and splendor, he has attained the highest region in his forman body. Who else has ever been known to achieve such a feat? this is an evaluation of achievement of Yudhishthira by Narada Muni. Chariot enters the heavenly planets, and it descended into a shining mansion. Yudhishthira saw Duryodhana in the heaven, seated on a golden throne. He turned to Narada in surprise, and the rishi said, "The king has reached heaven by virtue of his kshatriya practices." He fought fearlessly and gave up his body in battle. Thus, he has been promoted to the abode where he will remain for some time. And Yudhishthira then asked, "Where my brothers gone? Where Draupadi gone then?" Because he didn't have any wish to stay there. Wherever there are no devotees, like his brothers and Draupadi, and there is no Krishna. He didn't want to stay there. And he was thinking, okay, Duryodhana could keep heaven without Krishna and his servants. It doesn't matter for me. All these wonderful things in heaven, I'm totally unattached to them. Indra commanded the celestial to take Yudhishthira to his brothers because it was his desire, and Draupadi. They led the Pandava on a path away from heaven. As they proceeded, they were suddenly enveloped by darkness. Through the gloom, Yudhishthira could see wastelands covered with rotting corpses. The air was filled with a fetid smell. The flies, wasps, and gnats flew about. A blazing fire bounded the region. Yudhishthira saw crows and vultures with iron beaks, and the evil spirits with needle-like mouths. He saw a river of boiling water full of screaming people, and another of feces and mucus. Trees with razor-sharp leaves lined the path, which was becoming hot as Yudhishthira traveled upon it. Looking around, he saw men being tortured. Astonished by what he was seeing, Yudhishthira asked the guides, "What place is this? Why have you brought me to hell? I wish to see my brothers and Draupadi." And the messengers replied, "We have brought you here because your brothers are here. And Draupadi is here, O Bharata. But if you don't want to stay here, we will take you back to heaven." And Yudhishthira asked to be returned to Indra, and they turned to head back. Just as he did so, he heard the voices all around him. "O king, don't leave us. By your presence we are feeling our suffering relieved. Cool breezes blow, and our minds are made peaceful by seeing you." So by mere presence of Yudhishthira there, he delivered whoever was there by the purity of his devotion to the Lord. It's such an interesting point, like why he was taken in reality to the hell, to deliver the inhabitants of the hell, really. And Yudhishthira called out, "Who are you, and why do you stay here? I am Bhim, I am Arjun, I am Nakula, I am Sahadeva." The voices called back. Yudhishthira heard Draupadi's name as well as that of Drishtadhyumna and other virtuous kings and princesses who had followed him on earth. Shocked, he said to his guide, "What perverse destiny is this, that these virtuous men are in hell? I don't believe my senses. Surely this is a hallucination." He couldn't even believe. Am I dreaming? Am I asleep or awake? Had I become insane, or am I simply dreaming? "O celestial, hearing the voices of my brothers and friends, I cannot leave this place." So you remember, they turned to head back to the heaven, but then he said, "I cannot leave them because they're screaming. They're asking for my help, and they ask me to stay here." Can you imagine? This is a last test for Yudhishthira, because the heaven is something so desirable that the final destination of all this karma kandi, after millions of births of the pious activities and great sacrifices. Finally, they get in the chance to go as the servants of the demigod to the heaven. But here we have Yudhishthira, who was already in the heaven, and they suggested him to go back to the heaven, but he refused. I will not leave this place because my brother wants my help here, so I rather will stay here. Can you just imagine the purity of this mind? He wanted to be with the devotees because he wanted to help the devotees who always remember the Lord, who always do the service of the Lord. Therefore, go back to your own abode and leave me here. And then celestial accompanying Yudhishthira disappeared, leaving him to his thoughts. As he stood in amazement, he suddenly saw Indra and the other principal gods approaching him. By their bodily radiance, the whole region was lit up. All the sights of hell disappeared and were replaced by heavenly landscapes. Yudhishthira saw that he was standing in beautiful gardens of celestial flowers and blossoming trees. Indra addressed Yudhishthira, "O best of men, be peaceful. Neither you nor your brothers are in hell. Only by an act of deception have you all been shown that region." It was the manifestation of Maya, for them to see who are in the hell now. What is the destination of all these people who surrounded them in their life? On every king and indeed every living entity in this world of men will see hell, for none can perform only good deeds. And then he explains, those whose piety is great will receive the fruits of their sins first, and then will enjoy great happiness for a long time on heaven. First, hell for small thing, for small deviation in dharma. They have to see the sinful surroundings of the hell. They have to see the hell, and then for they following dharma, for all their piety, they have to go to heaven. And then he says, only a slight stain of sin touched you, O king, when you lied to kill Drona. Although he was impelled by Krishna to lie like this, and it was not lie in reality. You remember how it was, right? The Ashwatthama is dead. The Ashwatthama, an elephant. It was not lie as it is in reality, right? So, but because of this, actually our acharyas gives a purport to it, because he refused to follow Krishna. Therefore, he was shown the hell. Not because this deviation from dharma, not because he apparently lied in this, but because he refused to follow Krishna. That's another point of view on this, how he came to this hell. Now you may enjoy unending happening. But Yudhishthira was not even interested in heaven as well. So he was taken to the heaven, entered the water, and emerged with a resplendent god-like form. All his grief and anxiety vanished. As he came out of the waters, he was honored and worshipped by Siddhas and Charanas, and then saw Krishna seated in Indra's palace, manifesting a four-armed form of astonishing beauty and splendor. So Krishna himself manifested in this place just to give relief to Maharaja Yudhishthira. He wanted to see this form. Arjuna was worshipping him when Krishna saw Yudhishthira, he smiled and lifted a hand to bless him. So for how long the Pandavas will stay in heaven then? Seeing Narada nearby, Yudhishthira approached him and asked him how long he and his brother would dwell in heaven. The sage replied that by their meritorious acts, the Pandavas had earned an almost endless stay. But your brothers are not interested in staying there. So please return to your eternal abode to stay with your worshipable Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they just from 1 minute they came to hell, for 1 minute, literally speaking, they came to heaven, and then they returned back home, back together, because of this constant devotional meditation on the worshipable Krishna. That's how we have to meditate on him as well. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. If you have any questions or comment, you please personally ask me. Hare Krishna.